Well, you're listening to the Family Matters show. My name is Ruth Maxwell.
And I'm Bryan Maxwell.
And we have a very special guest with us today, Pastor Colin Stewart. Welcome.
Wow, special, I like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to start with a word of prayer and then Bryan's going to fill us in on what's going on today.
Shall we pray? Father God, thank you for this show and for the opportunity just to reflect, on the last 7 years of our marriage a bit and on the shows that we've had on this station. And Father, we pray that somebody may be blessed through today's show and somebody may be led to want to know you because you're a God who can work through any situation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Wonderful.
Well, maybe as you can hear, we also have another guest here on the show. In case you hear some little noises, we've got our little boy with us today as well.
Oh.
Yes, the beauty of radio is that it's mobile nowadays, and so you don't have to be in a studio. We're not in a studio today. We're in the lovely, sunny little town of Milton Keynes.
That's right. Big town.
Big town.
Yeah, that's right. At the home of our pastor,
Wonderful.
Pastor Colin Stewart, who is special in many ways, but particularly because he was our marriage counsellor.
Wow.
It's been 7 years, Pastor, since we sat at this table.
Oh, that's crazy. I can't believe 7 years has gone so quickly.
Yes, and I remember every time I walked through the door, like, oh my goodness, what's going to be revealed today? Yeah. So, like I said, we just want to reflect on things and
of course.
and with reference to some of the shows and that we have covered.
Yeah.
We're going to look at communication. We're going to look at unconditional love. We're going to look at working together as a team. And we're going to, if we have time, we'll look at raising children. Like I said, our little boy is here with us.
Fantastic.
And so we'll be looking at that. So maybe just to ask you, Pastor, when we first walked into your house, what were your impressions? What did you think?
I thought, what a lovely couple. What a lovely couple they are. Obviously I knew Ruth from being pastor at Milton Keynes Church, and so I knew that, she was a very solid Christian young lady, and I met Bryan yourself a little bit later on. Obviously, I think you'd come from London or something.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you'd been at Milton Keynes for a little while.
I had been, yes.
So I kind of saw you, and you always looked quite a serious-minded young man. So I was like, this could be serious. This could be serious. So I was pleasantly happy, especially for Ruth, because I know that she's quality, and in the course of getting to know you, Bryan, I saw that this guy, he ain't playing, he's ready.
Yeah.
And I was in a privileged position to be able to talk with you guys and just share a few little things.
Yes, and I remember we spoke about communication and the importance of being open. Maybe you can give us a synopsis. Actually, let's take things right back. Who are you, Pastor Colin Stewart, and where do you pastor? Tell us a bit, maybe for 5 minutes or so, about your ministry. Okay. What is it exactly that you do?
Good question. What do I do? I am a pastor that loves to be pastoring churches, that love to be in the community. I've been so happy in my ministry. I think I've been doing it for a good 25 years or something.
Wow.
Before then I was a tailor working on Savile Row. You guys know.
Yes.
And I was doing that for about 15 years as well. So I left school at 16 and just went right into the working world. 4-year apprenticeship, and then became a master tailor in that process. Worked on royalty garments and quite an established firm, famous firm on Savile Row. And when I left to study for ministry, I'll never forget my directors saying to me, have you gone mad? Because they couldn't understand I was giving all of this up to go into ministry, and study and become a pastor, But it was actually the best decision of my life.
Amen. Amen.
And I have never regretted that call that God placed upon me. So yeah, I've had a fantastic time of working with young people, working in the community, working at really good churches, and mostly I've just been able to just live my dream, really. So it's been fantastic.
Wow. So where do you currently pastor then?
So now I've kind of like come full circle, being a Londoner born and bred. I've kind of been called to work in central London, which is the kind of main church in the central part there. So we are very excited really to be pastoring there, myself and my wife. We've got a very young group, multicultural group. I must be the oldest person there. They're all young adults, young professionals.
Yeah.
And it's a great environment right in the centre of London. And we're trying to plan some major stuff that will push push the church. We're trying to do some kind of make the church really relevant, especially in central London, which is so busy.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge, but I'm really looking forward to it, and it's been good so far.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You touched a little bit. I'm going to jump in. You touched a little bit about your congregation, and you said it was like multicultural. Could you give us like a bit of a flavour of
Yeah, we have South Americans, we have Europeans, we have Africans, we have Caribbeans, we have Asians. I didn't actually know a church like that existed where everyone just gets on so well, and everyone's in the same space, because you know how we are. We kind of like to be in our own little groups.
Yeah.
But this was really just a special treat for me.
Wow.
So I feel like I've come home, because I used to actually attend the New Gallery Centre, which was our main church in London in the 50s. Our headquarters bought it for the express, reason of, evangelizing central London. And when they sold it, they bought this other church, which is off Edgware Road. So being asked to come and pastor there, I feel like I've come home. 100% I've come home.
Brilliant.
And it's really an exciting time of my life. I didn't think I'd be that excited about something. Yeah.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
You are listening to the Family Matters Show on Adventist Radio London.
Okay, so let's get into the heart of the matter. One of the things that you spoke to as pastor was communication.
Yeah.
How important is communication in marriage?
Whether it's lifeblood. If there's no communication, you don't really have a relationship.
Yeah.
It just stops. And as long as communication stops, the marriage can't happen.
Okay. In one of the shows, we interviewed Yinka and Julia.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that we learned from them is that they were very intimate even during the interview, and they looked at one another when they were speaking, and they checked almost like non-verbally during the session, and that's one of the things we thought, wow, we need to copy that and do that in our relationship.
Yeah, I think communication is one of those things that obviously we all strive for, really good communication skills.
Yeah.
But the truth is, some of us don't have that blessing. We have to work at it really hard. It doesn't come naturally. It's like some couples.
Yeah.
Most probably comes naturally than not. Some guys, they can just naturally be very communicative in just all the stuff that we talk about, the looking at each other, all of those body languages, all the love hand, everything is just like in place, and they have to work on other things. There's other things where they maybe need
not
some
us.
help.
Definitely not us. Because one of the
Yeah.
things that I had to learn is like conversations need to be heard in the same room. Because sometimes we'll be like shouting across like one end of the house and saying something like, "What did you say? I don't know. How did you find that?"
It's something that we used to do, and we realised that I was missing a lot of cues.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't see,
Sure.
and I was assuming what he was saying because I couldn't fully hear what he was saying.
Sure.
So,
And I think that is something that we all tend to do. But I think when we have serious points of discussion or serious things that we need to sort out, we do need to see the whites of the eyes.
Yeah.
And just see the expressions and just know, exactly what's going on with each other. So I think there is a real need to just be together, especially when you're discussing things that are quite important to the two of you, and that's something that comes naturally after a while. Man.
Yeah, so I've had to learn. I mean, it's taken 7 years to get to the point where actually.
I can't believe it's been 7 years.
It's been 7 years.
I'm like
7 years ago we sat at this table with our files and notepads.
Oh my days.
One of the things I've learned is to pause like the TV, because at least now you can pause TV and actually engage in the conversation, because Ruth, you're always communicating and saying stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not actually hearing her.
Yeah.
And so I pause the TV and I listen, and then when I think she's done,
and there was even a little pause after that,
it's like gonna press play now.
It's a kind of thing where you want to give quality to each other. So you want to show each other just how much you're really trying to support each other in this communication process.
Yes.
For some things it's not a big deal to you. For some things it's not a big deal to Ruth, and so our body language shows. You know what I mean? So it's like we don't have to be in the room to discuss this. It's like, no, that's not a big deal for me.
Right.
But I think everything really is an opportunity to grow in communication.
Okay.
So I think that's an opportunity to try and make best practice as much as possible, so that you are thinking of the person, even though it's not a big deal to you. It's like you're thinking of, okay, I'm going to still try to make sure that I am giving as good as I can. She can see how interested I am, and I'm going to just really give her some time, some quality time. And I think that's the whole process that builds once you're aware and you begin to just think of each other a bit more.
I think for me also, with building on that, it was also the clarifying. So I had to be checked. Now I'm learning. I have to check. Are you saying this is this? This is what I understand you're saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, even with the best communication skills in the world, we are still going to not fully get one another sussed out. We're going to miss things along the way. You know what I mean? We're going to be just like not zoned in to where we should be zoned in, or we just that's not our interest, so it's not a big deal. So it's gone over our head. I think it's really about just stripping some of that stuff back and making sure that we just put into practice those things that we know is best practice. So when you're communicating, when you're talking, when there's a discussion and a disagreement, you're in the room, you're giving each other that time, you're looking in each other's face, you're being direct in trying to tackle this situation, because the key thing is when that communication breaks down, it's not cool.
Yes, and
or if you get into a wrong habit,
right?
Oh yes,
and then it kind of becomes a.
Do you want to share some of the wrong habits you may have gotten into?
Yes.
Because, like I say, it may help somebody out there.
I know. Well, I know. Well, when we first got married, I always used to think, well, we need to fix the problem straight away. Right. So I would push in terms of communication. Right. To try and get the thing solved, where actually that wasn't beneficial to the situation. No. So I had to begin to read. Okay, it's not that he doesn't want to talk about it. It's just that we're not going to do it right now, but we will talk about it soon. So be patient. But at first, I just saw it as, well, he doesn't want to communicate.
Sure.
and that's it, and it's
Sure.
all over and over.
Sure. Because Rome wasn't built in a day, so the idea is that your relationship will grow over time, and you will begin to know more about each other over time.
Right.
You will begin to understand how the best way to deal with things over time. Because in the beginning, the truth is we're all in that zone, like what you just explained. Everyone's been in that zone, I think, where you kind of like, you just want it to happen, and you want it to happen now. But nah, in reality,
that is just to drive me crazy, because all I wanted was like a moment, just some quiet, just some peace and quiet.
Sure.
And I'll be like, listen, give me a moment, especially if the temperature's rising and you think, you know what, this volcano is about to erupt, then you try and find a quiet space. And I found that, remember in the early days, you'd follow me around the house. Listen, I'm just trying to get a moment's peace. Just leave me alone for a minute.
Yeah.
When I've calmed down, we could talk about this rationally. And then we had a discussion in a calmer moment. I'd say, listen, like our safe word, if I feel myself or she feels herself getting too angry, would say, well, actually, time out.
Right.
And then, with a view to come back to the subject matter, because if it mattered enough for us to be screaming at one another, it was worth resolving.
Yeah, sure.
So it would just take time out.
And time out is a good practical way of dealing with something that can't be dealt with at that particular moment. And I think that's wisdom, to be able to just know yourself, and it's wisdom for the other person to get to know you, that okay, this person needs a bit of time out. It doesn't mean to say you're going to let that thing go and not tackle it.
Yes.
But it does, and that takes discipline to actually
that
come
right
back.
Was a bit strong.
Because I had to learn to trust that this is what it means.
Yeah.
And I have to trust him that we are going to deal with it, but just not now.
And that is that's a very real area of communication where we do fall down. And the truth is, sometimes you would rather just get on with your life, just get on with the situation. We'll come back to it another time. We kind of put it in the background and get on with life. But if you and it's okay, maybe not everything has to be a massive deal, but if you can imagine over years, you have put stuff on that back burner, unresolved stuff. Obviously it's going to one day flare up in a way that maybe if we'd have dealt with it in the moments of life, it would have kind of helped.
But it was actually, it's not a painless thing. Even coming back to the conversation afterwards, karma, and actually having to maybe take back some of the behavior that was hard for me, but obviously I cared enough about it to be able to do it.
And it's marriage takes effort. Let's be honest. It's just like studying for that degree or whatever you want in life. To get that success, to get a successful marriage, it takes effort. And it's not a walk in the park all the time. You will have to deal with some things that you would rather not deal with.
Exactly.
And have some of them discussions that you would rather keep on the back burner.
And having to admit you are wrong.
Well, that's a massive
that was hardcore. Because
Yeah.
you put up all sorts of barriers, but at some point you have to humble yourself and say, you know what, I care enough about you, I love you enough to say, you know, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've had to learn, because I like progress, so I'm looking for a solution.
Sure.
So we'll be having a discussion. Okay, do you want to take over?
You can, it's fine. So like we'd have a discussion. Maybe I, bring something up, or there's something that was bothering me, and I'm, sharing.
Yes.
And I'd probably literally take a breath, just to pause before I go on, and Bryan would jump in and give me the solution and say everything's fine. I don't know what the problem is. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, that's not where I was going with this conversation. I want you to listen to what I'm saying.
Yes.
So it was just kind of just figuring out the listening thing, and it's okay. Does she just want me to listen? Or does she want an answer? Or do we figure out together?
I mean, the truth is, it's very difficult dealing with. I mean, in the regular situations of life, we can deal with things when emotions are not involved. But once emotions are involved, and we feel strongly about a position, then it sometimes tends to cloud.
Yeah, that's it.
Just dealing with the whole situation in a very measured way. And I think if we can learn those things, so that when we're in an argument or a discussion, or there's a disagreement, to put those just logical things into practice. You let the person speak, you be disciplined to wait until they're finished, and then you make your point. If someone has a concern, sometimes it's good to just be silent and just let that person speak. Sometimes sometimes they just want to get it off their chest, you know what I mean? So and it's a two-way street, so it's not always going to be one way, or it shouldn't always be one-way traffic. I think that's where, once you see it's happening on both sides and both people are working at those areas, then you feel a bit more confident to move on.
There was another one where I'd say something in the solution making, I suppose, and then Bryan would say something like, well, I don't see what the problem is, which would drive me crazy.
Well, I genuinely didn't see what the problem was.
I'm not asking you to see the problem.
What's the big deal?
What the problem is. The fact is that it doesn't matter how you feel about
it.
That's the fact.
Yes.
But I think that would again kind of move me away. Like you were saying, you have to be focused.
Yeah.
And that would emotionally rile me up and draw me away from trying to find a solution, because now I'm like, well, he doesn't care about how I feel about it and the reality of the situation. So it's kind of putting things into perspective. As well.
I mean, it's a massive one, because no two people are going to be thinking the same. In every successful married couple, you have two individuals that forever remain individuals.
Right.
And so something that I think is a big deal, my wife may not think is a big deal, and vice versa. So, I think we can go as far as we can to understand it. We may never fully understand it, but because of that idea of the love that we have for each other, we're building this thing, so therefore we do give each other that space, and we try and see it as much as possible from the other side of the fence. Just because we the two is becoming one, we're trying to understand each other more and more and more and more and more.
That's it.
But the process is not
it's not
always
quick.
that smooth.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I mean, this is just like the first topic that we looked at and that we're reflecting on. And we're just going to remind our listeners that you're listening to Adventist Radio London. If you want to email in, please email studio@adventistradio.london or text 82228, the word hope, a space, and then your message. We'll be back in a little while.
You are listening to the Family Matters Show on Adventist Radio London.
Yes, and maybe for this part now, we'll just look at what we learned from Carla and Emmanuel's session. And one of the things that I learned was unconditional love. Because I was really impressed with how God brought these guys together, and how even at a young age they trusted God to do that for them. And it made me reflect on how we met. Because I think at the time when Ruth and I met, like you said, Pastor, I'd moved from London to Milton Keynes. I'd done my share of dating, and I was at the point where I really thought, because I'd done my share of dating, but I hadn't found anybody that I really wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And to be honest, I hadn't found anybody that wanted to spend the rest of their life with me. Well, we're being frank here. So I was at the point where, like, you know what, Lord, I'm done with this dating game. So I was single for quite a while. I didn't date. I said, I'm just going to focus on the God thing. And so how I didn't even plan. You see Ruth around, you do stuff, and then at some point you notice it, and then something just
amazing.
Clicks. So that's how God brought us together. And one day, as we've shared in a previous radio program, I just approached her and said, you like me. Can you stop? Can you stop mucking about? I love it. Can you stop mucking about? And that let's just get together.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I couldn't be bothered. As in, I didn't I didn't want to do the whole trying to impress and this, that. I was just like, look,
yes,
God, I'm just going to crack on.
of course. Of course.
You know?
Just go with the
And
flow.
if you bring someone to me, fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm just cracking on now.
Yeah.
It was just too emotionally draining,
Of
trying
course.
to literally like seeking out, trying to seek out these relationships.
That's the deal, man. It's very.
And I was just
I hear that. I hear that fully, and I think there's a lot of people in that zone where they feel emotionally drained.
Yeah.
Oh, forget this. I can't be asked to go through all this trying to find my soulmate. But sometimes you've got to push through some of those things, and it's just on the other side waiting.
Right, exactly.
You know, so yeah. So the idea of unconditional love sounds a little bit to me like some divine.
Mate.
Oh my days, unconditional. It's like, whoa. I mean, that's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it had to be a God thing.
Oh,
yeah,
has to be.
Yeah.
You know, because to love someone unconditionally actually is quite a difficult thing. I think, because I mean, I'm sure. Okay, so you guys have been married 7 years. I'm sure you haven't felt in love all of those 7 years.
No.
Oh no.
There you go.
Did I say that out loud?
I mean, let's be honest, that's the reality of relationships, where you go through the stages of those relationships. Right. And I think there is this idea of trying to find that kind of goal where God wants you to be. And we know that God is a God of love, and He's a God that shows us how to work things through, so I think that the Christian that believes in God and believes that God has that unconditional love for us is going to want to try and mimic some of that stuff, obviously, to their partners. And I think that's the beauty of what I've just, that word unconditional. I mean, that's deep, but I love it, and I think it's something that we should all be aiming for.
Definitely, because I think one of the things we kind of linked with that discussion that we had was that we had to at times put our cards on the table. I mean, it got to the point in terms of communication sometimes where I felt, okay, if I said this thing, or then we had this argument, then this would happen, and then Bryan would leave me and he'd think I'm really moany, and so I'm not going to say anything.
Sure.
But then what would happen is that all the issues would just start building up and building up.
Exactly.
And it had to get to the point where he said to me, I'm not gonna leave you.
Right.
Yeah, we may argue, we will disagree. Sure. But I'm not leaving you, and it freed me.
Wow. The floodgates open. it was like Noah's Ark all over again.
But I became more confident in knowing I can share with you.
Fantastic.
And it's okay that we disagree. And it's been really liberating that it's okay that we disagree. Because it doesn't mean that you really hate me and that you don't want to spend your life with me. It just means we don't agree on this particular topic.
Very good.
Because Ruth doesn't really like arguing. I don't really hate it that much. and then, I don't know, maybe there's this thing in me, the need to be right.
Yes.
But because she doesn't like arguing, so she would actually almost lose her mind if we're not getting on.
If we're not talking, I'm a wreck. My whole day, I can't function at work. I can't sleep. I'm a wreck. Absolute wreck.
Whereas I'll have a hearty breakfast, a hearty lunch. I'll have a proper good night's sleep.
I mean, the beauty of relationships is that you kind of go in those up and down moments. But remember, it's when you get to the challenging parts of the relationship and you work it through is when you grow. You can't grow if it's always smooth, always hunky-dory, never no challenge. You can't really grow, and life is not like that. You learn the biggest lessons when stuff happens.
One of the things that you said to us 7 years ago that has stuck in my mind was that we are a firm, and that we are a partnership, and that we build, if you please, this marriage business together. And so we've sort of tried to invest in it by attending marriage seminars, and we went one recently. Where was it? In May. It's arranged by the South England Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, the Family Ministries team under Pastor Colin Stewart.
Brilliant.
I thought I'd just put that plug in there.
Good man. He's a top man.
Yes. And one of the things that we learned was the concept of automatic thoughts. The first thing that pops in your head when there's a situation. and I had to reflect and think, I do that a lot. I automatically think, oh my goodness, and usually that automatic thought is wrong. And so now in our conversation, when we are almost at loggerheads, so I'd ask her, okay, what is your automatic thought?
Right.
And then that frees you now to be honest. Well, actually,
I thought this is what you meant by this, and so this is why I reacted like this.
Right. Because communication is about saying the right thing, not the wrong thing.
Yes.
Because sometimes you say the wrong thing and communications go down the pan. Because like you've given the wrong impression. You said the wrong thing to let someone think, okay, this marriage is not going to last. So our words are really crucial. And when there's a disagreement, our words is really crucial. It can build that stuff, or it can tear it down. So that whole area is just dynamite. It's an area that will explode in a wrong way, if it's not caught. So those automatic thoughts, you don't always say the first thing that comes to your mind, because it may not be the right thing to say. So it's about, again, understanding that communication process, how to build that oneness, the firm, that, because if you're building something, you want it to benefit the two of you. Because if you're not building, then you're not, the firm is not growing.
Right.
It can never be like a one-way street here. It's always you're thinking of the other. You're trying to work. You're trying to use the best words. You're trying to give the right statement in order to also build. You're going to speak the truth.
Yes.
Because you have to speak the truth. But you're trying to be mindful of that other person in this relationship.
Yeah, that was a big one for me about packaging my words, and rather saying that than talking about how it made me feel. And to be honest, it's an area I'm still growing in, because it's very easy. Just when you hurt, just my knee, it's like my knee-jerk reaction is to punch back. When I'm hurt, like boom. But I've had to learn and to say, well, actually, this makes me feel, and this automatic thought thing actually freed me. Because when Ruth says something to me, and I want to say something, I'll ask her, well, actually, what made you say that? What was your automatic thought? What did I do actually to make you respond like that? And then we find that, the automatic thought is wrong. I didn't mean that at all. This is what I actually meant by that statement. And it's diffused so many arguments.
And that is the skill of time together. The idea of being able to diffuse, to be honest, and to speak your mind, but to be thoughtful of how you can bring this to a good conclusion.
Right, and that's the solution thing, isn't it? We're having to learn as well. Okay, now we've had this discussion. Now I'm right, you're wrong. I'm wrong, you're right. Now we've kind of figured that out. What was the point of all of that, and how we're gonna fix?
Because remember, you are actually, say, first 7 years of your marriage, you're actually building still that foundation. You're actually setting yourselves up for the future, because remember, it's a house that is built on sand. You could do all that quick stuff and all the fluffy stuff, and people think, oh, what a lovely marriage, but is the foundation there? Have you taken time to really pray together? Have you taken time to study together? Have you taken time to build some of these very honest foundational things where you talk honestly and openly, but you're still building a foundation? I think we all get it messed up sometimes, but in those early years, you're kind of doing that foundational stuff, so that as time goes on, you kind of move to a different phase. So you kind of understand each other a bit more. So you're having less of those stuff that you're wondering. You know what I mean? Because that's life. So once you get through that, there'll be other challenges waiting as well.
I mean, we're currently in a different phase in that we have a little boy, and this whole parenthood thing brought a lot of challenges, because especially with the one-to-one time, we almost have to be intentional. We learned about having a date night, but it's hard to find babysitters so that you can have your date night. We've had good people that have offered, of course, and they'll look after a son so we can have that one-to-one, just to do something fun without him.
It's a challenge, when you are, when the little ones come along, the phase of your life that you're in, is, you know, I mean, it's really important to have those date nights, but the reality is sometimes it's difficult to actually find time to do it, because you've got a live wire little boy. He doesn't understand that stuff. You know what I mean? So that is our priority, or often, you know, oftentimes. But I think, you know, whichever way you can do it, it's always healthy to try and fix some of that stuff in there, so you can have that just one-to-one time with each other.
And I think what we also learn is that the one-to-one time is not just, oh, we're going to go out and do something.
Sure.
Sometimes the one-to-one time is, okay, let's review this situation, let's talk about this, or let's plan this, you know. So it's kind of taking time out for those things as well, because it just gets overlooked, I think, sometimes.
Of course. And, you know, I mean, me and Pat.
Just as a little commercial break, how long have you been married?
So we've been married to, December will be 30 years.
Wow.
And time has gone so quickly. I can't believe, you know what I mean, 30 years is coming up.
Yeah.
Because it was just like the other day. But, you know, she's someone that I saw when I was a teenager, and a few years passed in between, and then we reconnected, and then that was it, man. We just said, we knew this was the one. We were going to get married, and wow, you know, 30 years later, we're still here, and enjoying our relationship, enjoying the time that we have, because, you know, the kids are big now, and so you can get back to that kind of date night mentality where you just go on holidays, you know, go to the market, take a walk, you know, and it's just the two of you, not having to worry about the little kids. So you go through those stages. If God blesses your life, if your life is long, and the Bible does say, you know, honor your father and your mother, that your days will be long upon the land. So I think there are some things that God does bless his people with, and you know, long life is one of those blessings, and this is something to look forward to, and to plan for the best way that you can, because it's actually a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time of life, and I know some people don't want to get old, but I'm actually quite happy. You know, I'm actually quite happy to get old and have, you know, a measure of health, and, you know, excitement still in my life, and, you know, a good lady, you know, a lovely family, great job. I mean, come on.
So in all the 30 years, have you got to understand one another's love languages? Because you hear so much of love languages.
100%. I mean, Pat is very affectionate. You know, I mean, not overly affectionate, but she's certainly more affectionate than me. And you know, I've had to learn how to be more affectionate.
Amen.
Because,
Amen.
you know, the truth is, you know, guys, it's like you've either got it or you haven't. You know what I mean? And I never had that stuff. You know, I mean, so it's something that it's just blossomed more and more and more, I think. And I think that the longer you're with someone is the more you appreciate that person anyway. So you actually do want to please that person, and have a good relationship. So it's been, you know, challenges are still there. I think I don't think couples get to that point where they can sit back and say, okay, now we've arrived. We don't have to work.
So you don't
on anything.
graduate from this.
You never graduate, I don't think.
Oh, man.
You know, once they're two human beings, you know what I mean, they are separate, not joined at the hip physically, then, you know what I mean, you've got two brains, you've got two personalities, you know, you've got two bodies. But the beautiful thing is marriage does do that kind of, the two become one thing, where you're more and more together. You're interested in each other more and more. You're working at it. You never stop working at it. So yeah, you never graduate from this school until God says that's it.
Yeah.
I guess from my cultural perspective, we didn't do that emotion stuff anyway, because it was the more manly attributes, or because those that are considered manly is like being strong, being tough, being resilient, enduring. Forceful, strong. Well, I've said strong. That's it. That's it. That's what. So anything touchy-feely was considered very feminine. So that's how I was raised. Even as a child, I think my kids get inoculations. From a tender young age, I remember my dad saying, "You're not going to cry." And I didn't cry.
Wow.
And that was that. But all the other kids will be screaming their lungs out. And I just stand there and take it. And it's like, yeah, that's my little boy, my little man. So that was really hard for me. So for marriage has been a learning experience, a steep learning curve for me.
I mean, if you don't have anything to, grow in or learn, what's the point? You know what I mean? I mean, marriage is about two, sinful individuals, imperfect beings coming together and praying for a blessed marriage. And I think, normally marriage is that kind of complementing thing where it should make you a better person because you've got two people there that can tell each other the real deal. It should actually help you to live your life to more potential. So areas where you're weak, areas where you don't have that kind of stuff to your personality. When you see or when you have those discussions and it's like you're not very kind of touchy. You don't really hug me much or those kind of things. I think for the other person to tell you that is a signal for you to try and grow.
Because I used to jump or even I don't want to say cringe, but I would have a negative reaction to being touched unexpectedly. So maybe that was through some childhood trauma or whatever, but I would have a negative reaction. And so I'd have to say to her, listen, you need to say incoming or something so that I know. And she would, because Ruth likes hugging, and she would grab me and hug him, and I would stiffen up, hug me, and I would stiffen up. And like, listen, just give me a verbal warning. Don't come and rugby tackle me from behind.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And
so
that's
I've had to adjust because she is touchy-feely, and I can't just be touchy-feely in the bedroom. I've got to be touchy-feely outside of it.
Of course. And that makes a lot of sense. And again, that when God puts the two people together, he gives you a great person that will hopefully be able to tell you some of these things, or not even tell you, but just kind of prompts you in the right direction. And sometimes when you see something in one person, it kind of automatically triggers this kind of, I'm not actually like that. So it's a signal for growth.
But it was more the wilting when I didn't respond to her touching, because it affected her, and then she would try and contain herself. It's like, you see this flower, lovely and blooming and bright, then because of your reaction, that flower just closes up and is wilting. So I had to say, actually, I have to change.
Of course you do.
And so I had to be very intentional with it.
And that's the key word. I think the intentionality, thinking about that area that you need to fulfill for your partner. Because remember, we don't own each other, but in a sense, we're given to each other. So we, when we take that vow, we do become connected in a way that's like so special. So that you really do want to please your partner, and you will do anything humanly possible. And with God's help, certainly areas where you're weak, because like I say, I think it's really important for us to understand that none of us have the full package. This is a big area. I think it's near enough expected to be natural in some maybe people's minds, but it's not. And like you say, some people grow up differently. Some people have different traditions. They have different backgrounds. They have different learnings that's caused them to be the way that they are. So but then the beauty of a relationship is that God uses some of these things to just even us up a bit, and help us.
I wonder if there's like a greater purpose to it, in terms of maybe one's spiritual destiny. Because surely marriage is not just for our private enjoyment. It's not just for the fun. There must be, at least we believe that there's a higher purpose to our union.
100%.
That God brought us together for a reason and not another couple, because it could have been with anybody else.
Of course,
but He brought us together, and one of the things that we believe is that we are together for ministry.
And that's exactly you've hit the nail on the head. I think there's this very clear guideline from God that this marriage that he's given the two of you to each other is a foretaste of how he loves us so much, kind of thing. And so he's given us now the opportunity to love each other so much so that we have just a beautiful experience. And the marriage that is like that is really a heaven sent one, a heaven made one.
Well, 7 years, Pastor.
It's amazing. It is amazing. And to me, I think you guys have grown tremendously. Just from hearing the two of you, and just hearing your conversation, I feel you've grown tremendously.
So, okay, what is the import of premarital counselling? Let's just take it back a bit, just in case there's somebody out there who's heard and listened and they're considering getting married. What's the whole rationale behind that?
Listen, if you're planning on getting married, you need to make sure that you're marrying the right person. Number one, you need to make sure that you are meant to be married. I don't think everyone's meant to be married.
Oh my, that's not good news for somebody out there.
I'm sorry, because if if you are willing to work at your relationship, if you're willing to to be less selfish and to give equally to your partner, some people they're not cut out for marriage. Some people can't settle with one person. They need more than one person's. You know what I mean?
What, in having multiple partners?
Yeah, 100% so.
Wow.
I think some people, will get married, but near enough immediately recognise, marriage is not really for me. Okay. And then they'll just go through the motions. Some people are married, but they're not really married. You know what I mean? It's like they're not gonna. It's too much to get divorced, kind of thing. But it's like the lover's already gone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's something that if you don't recognise that marriage is about, first of all, God giving you this beautiful person and helping you to work those things through, so that you will have a marriage made in heaven. If you don't bring God into that relationship, and you feel it's just the two of you doing all of this together, and God is not involved, then just let let some of them challenges come, and then look and see who we call on when we don't have anyone else to call on to.
Oh wow! I feel like we need to do this a lot more. This is brilliant. Thank you so much.
It's a real privilege.
We're not even done. We've got a few more topics to do, but I'm just reminding listeners that if you want to text in, please text in at 82228, the word hope, space, and then your message. Or if you want to email, then email studio@adventistradio.london.
This is the Family Matters Show, and you're listening to Adventist Radio London. We have Pastor Colin Stewart, who was a marriage counsellor 7 years ago, and he's back now.
I can't believe it.
Just to revisit and to check on us, really. So, so just for the last few minutes of this show, Pastor, maybe what sort of things would you want us to look at, maybe, or to have reviewed?
Yeah, I think for me, it's important that you continue to communicate at the highest level possible, and just know yourselves, know each other, know your body language, know what you're giving off, and just constantly look at that, so that you can be having some best practice in terms of working through the little challenges that come, and like I say, everyone has these challenges, and the person that says, we don't have anything, it's like, okay, well, maybe they're in heaven already, but I know on earth, we just got stuff we've got to deal with. So just continue to make yourselves available to each other to discuss things in a way that would bring you closer together, rather than further apart. Managing conflicts or resolving conflicts, I think, is a good way to humble us. And I think I remember saying to you guys all these years ago, if you're in a conflict situation and one is always winning, then that means one is losing.
Right.
And you actually don't want that to happen, because you want to be in a situation where when you have finished that conversation and you've resolved it, everyone's a winner.
Right.
No one feels that, okay, I got it wrong again, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just a way to make sure that you're bringing up a lovely even marriage where one person is not feeling, you know, well, I'm the one that's in charge, or I'm the one that's getting it wrong, or I'm the one that's being told. You know, you really want it to, let that.
I have learned that even winning an argument can actually be a loss, because you might win the argument and then lose out in the physical.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I've learned even it's better to just to bite your tongue.
You know, I think, you know, in a sinful world where we live, we have to develop ways that will help us to, you know, just like not go in for the big arguments all the time. And I think there's a time when a big argument is brewing. You kind of like know it's coming. You know, something was said wrong, a major thing happened, and it's like, we're going to deal with this. You know, but then there are the little things that sometimes just needs to be monitored, but you don't have to have an answer for everything that goes on. You know, you need to be able to bide your time a little bit and just work things through. And when you know, one of the good principles for a married couple is to have regular meetings where you can just bring up stuff that may be general stuff. You know, you may have overlooked it, or you may have thought it was overlooked, but I think it's not that you're looking at every little thing, you know, to put it on the agenda kind of a thing. You know what I mean? But I think it's best practice to have family meetings where you can just talk about general things that matter to the two.
And see, I'm going to be honest right here, because we did that, and Ruth would be like, "Oh, we need to talk."
Right.
And for me, it's almost like I'm being called into the dentist surgery. It's like it was a traumatic experience. Like, oh my goodness, we need to talk.
I hear that.
What's happened now?
I hear that.
And your thoughts are racing, like, oh, this is going to lead to another argument.
Okay.
Why do we have to talk?
Okay. I fully hear that.
Yeah.
And you know, I think you need to then make it much more relaxing. Meetings.
That's
so
what I had to learn.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't be so, you know, clinical about it. Right, okay, it's 7:30. We said we're going to talk, and it's now 7:31, because that's how
It's Champions League.
I hear that, man. I hear
that.
Actually,
there's a Champions League match.
Come on.
And you want to talk?
Yeah.
I'm just tired. I'm from work. Yeah. Can I not just watch football?
This is real life. You see?
This
is real life.
This is it.
And so it takes that stepping back, not being so heavy, rigid, maybe putting some things on the agenda, that not even having a written agenda, but certainly there needs to be enough space to talk about some of the things. You know, you may be going on a holiday, you may plan, you know, for some special something that the house needs, or you know, some you know, you want to talk about how can we spend a bit more time, just the two of us. You may put some of these things on your little agenda, but I think it's important to keep it light. Keep it light. It's not like, you know, it's not a
court case.
You know what I mean? And we in the church, we know about business meetings and board meetings.
Oh Lord have mercy.
There you go. You know, we don't want the heavy thing. We want it to be in a homely, loving environment where, I'm not saying you can't have meetings to talk about serious things. Of course there comes a time, you know, most probably. But I think more than not, you really want it to be quite a relaxed environment where you're talking and just open.
I think definitely I found that, because when we first, you know, were talking through things, and I, you know, have this list, oh, you did this and then that, and you did that, and it was just like a list of stuff.
Right.
That was a whipping.
Yeah, basically, you know, and we've had to learn, okay, what's the solution? Because then we'd get in an argument about the details, and then now the argument's about the details rather than the thing and trying to fix it. So then we had to begin to learn, and I had to learn, okay, I have to put the emotion aside about how I maybe feel about this, and we have to focus on what is the solution, how are we going to fix this, how do we move on from this.
Exactly.
And how do we not end up here again?
Yeah. And again, it's about making sure you discuss the right things and you have the right topics on your agenda, things that are obviously important to the two of you, but also things that are equally important to the two of you. So it's not like, so you would be like, you know, we're talking about Champions League tonight. You know what I mean? Like, if your wife is not a football fan, it's like, that's not, we don't need that one. You know what I mean? But I think it's about having that, you know, the input from both sides, maybe, so that agenda is exactly what it needs to be. And think about the important things, maybe to do with your child or to do with the, you know, the like I say, there's so many things that you can discuss, and there's so many things that would benefit from a good discussion. When you discuss things and you put things down, then you can kind of go to action and just see how far you can get towards accomplishing that particular thing. You know?
Yeah, actually.
Yes. Well, thank you, Pastor Colin Stewart.
No, it's been a privilege.
It's been great to have this review, this 7-year review.
Wow, 7-year itch, eh?
Yes.
7-year itch. Well, I pray that God will continue to bless the two of you.
Yes.
And I'm really happy with how you guys are looking right now and sounding.
Okay, you have been privy to our marriage counselling session, and the whole purpose of this is that maybe somebody out there might be helped and might seek to get counselling themselves. There's no stigma. You don't lose face.
That's
right.
It's just, if you want your marriage to work and you're struggling with something, talk to someone. There's counsellors available in the church. There's counsellors available out there, and whatever the topic, and do what you think, Ruth.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and you know, some people have a perception of having counselling because we're having problems, and what we learned very early on with you, Pastor, was that actually we're having counselling so that we can probably avoid some of the problems.
Yes,
you know, as they come along, because they will come along, but it's tools in our toolkit to help us. So, you know, those sessions we found useful, and even this today has been really useful, and the things that we've learned from the couples already who have been sharing
their life experiences with us.
Really, really, really useful for us. So we thank you, the couples that have been sharing. If there's any other couples who want to share, please feel free to contact us. Email studio@adventistradio.london or text in 82228, the word hope, a space, and then your message. But that's us for today, isn't it?
It's a wrap. You've been listening to the Family Matters show, and please look after your family, because family does matter.